All right, everybody, welcome to the Hounds Tales podcast. In this episode, we'll be sitting down with a good friend of mine, Lewis Callahan, Mr. Opie, Boo Boo, whatever you want to call him. There's so many names you could go with. Man, he's been a pleasure to be around. This episode was so fun. But before we get started into this episode, we're going to keep on with what we've been doing here. The first one is I want to start off with my quote. This is one that I've clung on to for a long time. I actually heard it at a NASCAR race, believe it or not. So I don't know where the original quote come from. So forgive me for that. But this is what I heard watching a NASCAR broadcast, and it said it: "In life, expect failure, but don't accept it." That one's always been a huge one for me, and I hope that speaks to somebody. And this week's Bible verse is from Psalms 145:18. The Lord is near to all who call on Him, to all who call on Him in truth. So I hope that did a little speaking to everybody. I appreciate it. I've had a lot of positive feedback on this, and I can't thank y'all enough for that. So we're going to get into this episode, and y'all be ready. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds Tales podcast. This is your home for field trialing and deer dog hunting. It'll be stories and discussions on the world of dog hunting. So let's drop the gate, cast your hounds, and get ready for another episode of the Hounds Tales podcast. The Hounds Tales podcast is proud to partner with Outdoor Dog Supply again for the 2025 season. Outdoor Dog Supply is the leader in online garment sales with their world-class trade-in programs. These guys are not just a business, they're also houndsmen and women too. They test their products out in the field and really put them to the test. Get the latest in garment equipment, stay locked and ready with field trial equipment, collars, leashes, and so much more. Visit their website today at outdoordogsupply.com, and we want to thank Outdoor Dog Supply for their support not only for the podcast, but in the field trials across the country. When you're looking for your next purchase and equipment, keep Outdoor Dog Supply in mind. Now let's get this episode started, guys. Thank y'all so much. Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds Tales podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Mr. Opie, Lewis Callahan. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good.
Good deal, man. Good deal. I appreciate you joining. You've had a busy start to the year, and we'll kind of get into that here in just a few minutes. But for everybody that's listening that doesn't know, kind of just tell us, who you are and where you're from, brother.
All right. Well, I'm Lewis Callahan. I'm one of the kennel partners of Opie Kennels. It's Jimmy, Ryan, and Jarrett Callahan. They're the four that's in the kennel, and we're from South Hill, Virginia.
Gotcha. Down in the south. I guess you'd be kind of southeastern part, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, we're kind of like we ain't but 15 minutes off the North Carolina line, so we kind of close. It don't take long to get to North Carolina from right here where we are, and we're kind of in the middle of 85. We can be in Richmond just as quick as I can be in Raleigh. So we're stuck in the middle.
That's right. Not a bad place to be, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty down there too. A lot of big farmland.
It's a lot of farming goes on in this area. A lot of tobacco in the old belt.
Yeah, and that's y'all farm for a living, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, we have cattle, Black Angus cattle. We run some feedlots. We grow tobacco and grow soybeans, and we grow some wheat behind the tobacco we have to plant something to keep it from erosion.
Right.
And so it ain't much money in wheat, but you never tell it if you go buy a loaf of bread. But
that's right.
but anyway, we do have some wheat, and we raise corn. I actually cut some silage this year. Well, last year we're feeding it this year. Never had any of that before in the feedlots, and feeding it to the cows too, and kind of offset some of the costs and all. Just trying to do the best we can over here on the farm.
That's right. I know my dad does. He's not big time in it by any means, but he's got some Black Angus too. And I tell you what, the price of cattle has just skyrocketed.
Oh, it's higher than it's ever been. That's for sure.
Gosh.
I can remember in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like that. But I truck a lot of our commodities. I'm kind of like the truck driver and the
Okay,
sprayer.
I got you.
So I'm trucking a whole lot of times. You see or call me or whatever, I'm on the headset. I'm trucking.
Now, good deal, man. Well, I've known you for quite a few years now. Since I got into this field trial and stuff, seen you around pools a whole lot. But how long have you been? How long have you been a houndsman, brother? How long have you been
Yeah.
involved in the dogs and stuff?
Well, I started feeding dogs over 50 years ago with my dad, and we just had deer dogs.
Mm-hmm.
We started out with deer dogs, and gradually we went. And some of the first hunts we went to, we'd go to Shag Reese's Fox Pen over in North Carolina, and we'd go over there, and it's next to Townsville, North Carolina. There's an old pen called Shag Reese's, and we'd have a ball. We'd go over there and run one night, field trials, and that's where we started. We started with just going to those kind of hunts, just a one night speeding drive. That's where we started at.
I got you. And what about how you said about 50 years ago? Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, it was we really started field trialing in the late '80s. We were
Okay.
field trialing, mid '80s to late '80s, somewhere in there. We were starting to go to some one days, and then we gradually went up to 3 days, and it's a lot to learn when you out there and you go. It's kind of like a dirt track running go karts, and then you go to NASCAR and you get up there with the big boys.
Right.
It's a different world, like
Yeah,
different hound, that's for
yeah, you
sure.
stepping up. That's for sure. That's for
Yeah.
sure. What kind of dogs were you running back then when you first got into the field trialing?
We just picked up some dogs from here and there. We got some from Bruce Cliven.
Okay.
He really, a lot of our hounds go back. I doubt anybody around has got more Cliven blood in their dogs than we
Ah,
do. I
now.
mean, we got a lot of Cliven in our dogs, and Bruce was right down the road, and he helped us a lot. He was, he was like a icon in the fox hunting world, and
Mm-hmm.
he taught us a lot about what to look for and crosses to make and stuff like that, and helped us out a lot. We started. He gave us some dogs, and shoot, them dogs were fantastic. We loved them to death, and we made some different crosses, and we ended up getting champion Opie's Tina. That
Okay.
was our first field champion, and we got her, and she was her and Kitty were the two goose that laid the golden eggs. I mean, they when they had a puppy, it was a good dog,
Gotcha.
they're probably the backbone of our whole operation, in the kennel.
Yeah. And you said that
They
was
look like
Tina. What was the other dog's name?
Champion Opie's Kitty.
Kitty. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Tina was a champion Red Ale Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
and Cliven's Christie too.
Okay.
And we got her from Bruce as a puppy. Well,
Yep.
actually raised the puppies, and all on that. Anyway, the other one is Kitty, and Kitty was out of champion East Coast Dylan and
Yep.
Opie's Nina.
Yep.
And who in the world would ever thought about breeding a white dog to Dylan? But I called Cliff Parker, a good friend of mine, and told him I saw we won the North Carolina Open with Hammer,
Yeah.
and we were fifth with Liza and 10th with Jesse at that hunt in all age, and Dylan was second. And I told Jimmy, I said, I like that dog. I want to breed to him. And she was the dog that came in. She was white and he was black and white, but that's how we got Kitty.
Hey, it worked though, didn't it?
Yeah, that's
It
for
definitely
sure. That's
worked.
for
It
sure.
will, we'll talk about Kitty here in just
Okay.
a few minutes, a little bit
All right.
more. But I want to talk a little bit more about kind of how you're coming up into the field trial, and so Bruce, you said was a big
Yeah.
influence. Was
Yeah,
was there?
Bruce was a big influence. Al LeGrand,
Okay.
A. LeGrand
Yeah.
up in Borden.
Yeah.
He really inspired me a lot. And it was the guy that people might even not know this guy, J.P. Holmes. He's one of our neighbors, but he had fox dogs, and we would see his dogs and stuff, and go up there, and he would help us. He kind of helped us start out. When we started going to like the canny hunt, we go to
Okay.
McBurg Canny Hunt,
Yeah.
and he would teach us, and take a lot of stuff that we didn't have no idea what we were doing. He
Right.
would try to, him and Bruce and like Al LeGrand would help us through, you know,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
all. But yeah, Al tried to hoodoo me one day. Uh, I
Come
left a
on now.
puppy in it. I left a puppy in the pen, and we went to Bruce Cliven's grandma's funeral, you know, and he told me that he couldn't make it to tell, you know, the family give his regards, and
Right.
I said I would, and I did,
Yeah.
and I called him and told him, I said, look, I left a puppy up there, and I'm coming to get her.
Yeah.
Well, I was just about up there, and look, phone ringing. It's Al.
Uh-oh.
Hey, I already got that dog. You a puppy. You don't need to come. You don't need to come. And I said, but Al, I'm right here, come crossing the double bridges.
Right.
I'm right here at you.
Yeah.
No, no, no. You can turn around and go home. I got the puppy. And I said, Al, I'm right here at you, man. I appreciate you catching her, but you know, I'm coming to get her.
Right.
He phone got quiet. He said, Lewis, would you do me a favor? And I said, you know I can, Miss LeGrand. I would if I can. And, you know,
Right.
let me know what you want.
Right.
He said, would you let me have this puppy? I said, no way. He said, what's this puppy offer? I said, probably a dog you never heard of. He said, well, try me. I know a lot of dogs. I said, Twist LeGrand and Cliven's Cotton. I could see the smile on the phone. He was grinning, and she went on. She was champion Opie's Q-tip. She went on to
Okay.
win three field championships.
I got you. Yep.
Yeah.
I got that one wrote down in the notes to hit a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit here. Look, you know, absolutely. And that was another white dog, right?
Yeah, that was a white dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Had a lot of white dogs.
Yeah.
Still rocking them some white dogs now, ain't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. We just bred a white gyp, so
Ha.
looking forward to some white dogs. But I've had the question. They said, "What kind of dog did I like?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I want the fastest one in the pen,
Right.
all on the outside." And they said, "What else you want?" I said, "When the running breaks, I want him to out hunt and out trail everything out there."
Yeah.
They said, "Well, what else would you want?" I said, "I want him looking good doing it. I want it all. Bench, field, dual
All
combination.
around
I
dog
want it all.
there.
I mean,
All
that's
around dog.
I want it all around hand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what we're all searching for, ain't it?
Yeah, that's all we want. You might, hey, if you're gonna get it, you might as well ask for all of it.
That's it. Get it from the nub.
Yeah, that's right. Get it all. Greedy.
Hey, is it greed or is it just we know what we want?
Yeah, we know what we want.
That's
What it
it.
is. It's hard to find that, but that's what we're looking for.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So, when you started making that transition into the field trial and from the deer dog woods, did you run your field trial dogs on the outside or as well? You know, did you deer
Yeah.
hunt them?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
I got you.
we run them. A lot of them now. We still run them.
Right.
Every now and then there'll be one that I didn't really, take one out. When
Right.
I would kind of watch I could see, they were really something, and I was like, I was scared to death.
I don't
Um,
blame you.
they get hit in the road, and
Right.
unfortunately, we lost one time. It was a letter mate to Joe Lewis's dog that won the futurity. Fun Times Victoria.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
was field and dual champion Opie's Whitney, and she got hit by a car.
Man.
And she was running a big buck, and I was like, she could run him now, but
Right.
I shouldn't have never had her out there.
That'll
That
make
was
you
my
sick,
fault.
won't it?
Yeah, it made me sick. I ain't
Yeah.
lying. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll make you sick.
You take that chance though when you go on the outside.
It is. It is. I've told people that all the time that are getting into it, man. Like when you turn these dogs loose, especially on the outside, you just gotta send a prayer up with them and pray they're safe and come on back to the house.
So much traffic and
It
stuff,
is.
Now these days.
And it ain't doing
It's
nothing
hard
but
to-
getting worse.
Oh yeah, it's hard to stay on them.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that far from her, when she got hit, but you
Right.
can't. It's hard to keep them out of harm's way all the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The Hounds Tales podcast would like to take a minute and talk about our friends over at Cajun Lights. When pleasure running at night or judging those nighttime field trials, you can put your trust in Cajun Lights. With the economical Cajun Bayou for the every now and then light user, the Cajun Micro for the nighttime feeds and around the house times, then the top level Cajun Blinder for those hardcore crossing getters at night. The Cajun Lights are headlamp style light that free up your hands for voice recorders or your GPS. They offer flood style lights in red, amber, and a white walking light. Then the top of the line 4-level main beam light. If you're having a hard time catching crossings at night, give the Cajun Light a try. And the red and amber setting to catch the game without distracting them, and with the easy flick of a switch, go back to your main beam light to catch your hounds in action and get those numbers. Visit their website today at CajunLights.com, and at the checkout, make sure you fill out the survey after your purchase and select Hounds Tales Podcast to receive 5% off your next purchase with Cajun Lights. Now, let's get back to the episode. So I know you just got back from the All-American. Let's kind of roll into that week.
Oh,
I know I seen you at least walking one out on the last day.
yeah, I had actually we didn't have one to make the cut, but I walked Frank Williamson's dog
Okay.
out for him. I walked her out. That was a dime dog. I walked her out and let her go. But yeah, we were real close, but didn't lack but a little bit of getting one in, but it just didn't happen. But last year we were real tickled. I went out Jana and the hound we got called Opie Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
She was it was $717 last year,
Right.
and she ended up fifth HGA. She was third on the bench, fifth in the field, and missed the combination. And she missed the duel, well, of course, by one spot. She needed
right.
to be fourth, but I was still tickled to death that it was $717.
Yeah.
And she won the hunting, and all. So I was still tickled, overjoyed, something. I've not run that hunt much.
Yeah.
I've judged it around 15 times.
Okay, I got
And
you.
I mastered it at Picayune, Mississippi in 2019.
Yeah. Wow.
I mastered that hunt, and it was real funny. It was like 2.5 years before that came up. Kirk McCadden called me and asked me, said, look, I'm going to be the president. It's quietly going to be in Picayune, said Mississippi. Said, would you master it for me? And I told him, he says, a long ways and all, but that's the reason I'm going to ask you. I wanted you to master it.
Right.
And I told him, I said, well, do they have a fox pen on the moon? Because if it was on the moon, I'd be that. I won't turn in that down.
Yeah, you daggone right. What an honor that is.
Yeah, and then a great honor. I was really proud of it. Is this year I was put on the board of directors. So I was really tickled. I was got to be accepted as a board of director of the All American.
Awesome. That's congratulations on that. Like you said, what a tremendous honor is that.
Oh yeah, I told him, I said that was a high honor to become a board of director member, and I've helped them out a lot, and contributed a lot, but I haven't run it that many times. But
right.
I was tickled for Charlotte that that we actually she's at a ring and RTK's Little Martina.
Okay.
Is her breeding or whatever.
Yeah. I got you. So you said you just come up just a little bit short this year?
Yeah, we were a little bit short. We needed 10 more points. If I ain't mistaken, I might be wrong. If we'd have had 10 more points hunting, we would have got it. But you know how it is. We didn't get it, and I was tickled for everybody else that did get it because I got to go last year, and she made the cut and then made the hunt and come in fifth. So it's a proud moment when you place in that. Yeah. That hunt to me is the Super Bowl of fox hunting. Yeah. To me, it's one of the biggest hunts it is. I know it's other big hunts out there, but to me, it's the Super Bowl. You win the Super Bowl ring. Right. And to me, it's the Super Bowl of fox hunting.
I could see that. And from everybody that I talked to that was down there, they said it's probably
it was a rock and roll. I mean, dogs were putting up big scores and not getting in, because of the great scores. And it was really good. A good friend of mine, him and George, Joey Ross and George, they won the speed and drive, and they dueled their dog Annie Oakley and won the combination and won the speed and drive. It come in second, but that dog was a real nice hand. She went right up through the field and won it. And I was, she was 10 points, 88 points from winning the whole thing, but she done really good. And another thing really I was really proud of is she was off of Champion Bland's Cowboy, and we actually have him at Opie right now. We're studying him out for Connor Priest. He's let me keep him. Yep. And we've got him at the house. And then the mother of that dog was raised right up here, Drake's Branch, not Drake's Branch, but up there, David Wayne Rutledge's.
Okay.
That was it. That brown sugar dog. So Dope
Yeah.
Rice Brown Sugar, she's been a real good producing hound. So
Right.
that was it. The proof's in the pudding. You can see that.
There you go. There it is. Yeah, I was man. That's when I love when I think it's at Polly. Well, I'm not sure what her last name is, but the Polly girl, she posts a lot on the Facebook page or
Uh-huh.
her Facebook page, and she does an excellent job
Oh
of
yeah. I think
keeping everybody
don't hold me
informed.
to this. I think it's Sutterly.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Sutterly. Yeah,
Yeah,
Polly.
yeah,
Yeah, she's real good. Good with the computer, and she does a lot of pictures, and
yep.
she's really an asset to the hunt. You know.
I agree. I mean, it was the one thing I love about a hunt like that, especially when she's there. She does such a good job of every day
Yep.
update,
Posting and
score.
pictures, and
Yeah,
it gives you a lot of input when you're not there. You get
it
to see
makes
a
you
lot.
feel like you're there. Like,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
was watching these dogs. I was looking at them numbers and watching dogs coming and going. I mean, what was it? The 11 dog. I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
dog was leading the first 2 days, and what I think ended
Oh,
up second
he
speed
was
and
really
drive.
really close.
Yeah,
That dog was Paul Caskey's, and that dog was really neat too because the Moneymaker won that hunt, and that dog is off of Moneymaker,
mm-hmm.
and then Clark Sugar.
Yeah,
So that dog of Paul Caskey's, that was a real nice. It was a real nice hound to come in. He was second speed and drive, but it pushed him back to fourth HGA. But
right.
Harry's dog come in third. His dog, he
Gotcha.
came Cartwell's dog, come in third.
Okay, I got you. I
I think
got
that
you.
was a B&B Superman. I'm not sure on the
I
female
think
part.
that was right, if I remember right. Yeah,
Superman, I can't remember the bottom right this second.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that was just
But all them dogs were cream the cream rose to the top. They were real nice dogs, that's for
yeah.
sure.
I know.
And even the dog that won it, that dog is a nice dog.
That's a nice dog.
That's a nice dog.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
nice dog. Hey, I called him soon after I saw the sheets because I was watching the live video they had, and when they called it out, everybody got the hooping and hollering. I couldn't daggone hear who won, so I had to wait for the pictures to come out for me to call and figure out who it was. But once I did, I called him and congratulated him.
Oh
and
yeah.
man, I was
I think
everybody.
he was an understatement was he was excited, which I
Yes.
would have been too.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, him and that dog had a heck of a year last year.
Oh
that
yeah.
was, golly,
Oh yeah,
man.
I've heard of that dog placing a lot. So
Yeah, he's a multi-time
that's
champion.
right.
So, but yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I heard was, and yeah, it seems like you're kind of reiterating that too, was this hunt was one of the strongest fields that a lot of people were competing in. Like it was just everybody. I talked to Bobby Parker after the hunt was over.
Yeah, Bobby won the hunting there.
Yeah,
and come in sixth, I think.
Yeah, six. Yeah, I think I was right. 6, 7, something like that. Yeah, and I was talking to him after it, and he's like, man, I was looking at all these dogs, and it was champion, 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 champion. This, and this, and I'm like, my gosh, this is the toughest field I've ever competed in. Like everybody,
it was something. If you made it to the last day, you done really good. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Especially if you didn't do nothing but just make it.
Right.
We carried 5, and all 5 finished the 3 days, but they didn't get in.
Yeah.
But or whatever.
Well, that just goes to show. I mean, that's how tough it was.
Oh yeah. Well, we actually carried a ring puppy. He won't but 15 and a half months old. And he scored every day consistent, and that would have been great at some hunts, but not there.
Right, right. Needed that extra little bit of sauce on the end of it to get there.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. You had to have 3 good days to be there,
Yeah.
Yeah, you had 3 good days to be there. Then your 4th day, they had to really shine, and they did,
I tell you what, I was impressed how many points you had to put up on that 4th day, with the limited amount of dogs that was in there. I didn't expect it to be a very high scoring 4th day, but man, I think it was still 500 and something points to lead the last day, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, good gosh.
I judged the year that Moneymaker won it, and you had to really, with the amount of dogs that's in there, the judges have to really work together like deer hunting.
Yeah.
To work with each other to get around to get the scores.
Right. Right.
And get on dogs. Just get on dogs. Just get on them.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Lock-On were talking about that the other day when we were conversating about the hunt. I was saying, man, I bet it's like an outside deer hunt in that pen on that 4th day.
Oh yeah, you going you I mean I've judged it right many times down there and everything, but it's you really got to move,
Mm-hmm.
kind of move, and then when everything gets quiet, of course I'm back there in the back climbing up on a bulldozer pile with my binoculars, and
Right.
I'm just looking, and all of a sudden I saw a white tail, and I looked,
Yep.
that thing was coming up through there hunting like a bird dog, you
Now.
know. Yo, I mean, you see that. I love a hunting dog. Y'all,
Yes,
everybody
sir.
knows that.
Yes, sir. I'm the
That
same
thing was
way.
pulling it down. Them dogs
Yep.
are really hunting good.
Yep, I'm the same way. That's one of my favorite things about judging the Southeastern. You know you're going to be getting after a hunting dog at that hunt.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I love going and getting after it and
Yeah,
hunting for hunting, baby.
yeah. That I won the Walter Fulton Award at the All American, and anyway, Donnie Adams was the one that gave me, talked about it and gave me the plaque and the jacket, and he talked to me. And he got up there, and it's customary for somebody to talk about you, and
Yeah.
may tell a story or something. He told him, he said, well, Lewis, he says he's a little different. He said he'd rather win the hunting category than win the speed and drive. And he said he wants to get on every hunting cow cutter they got.
Daggone right.
But everybody died. They're laughing on that.
I love it
Yeah,
though. Hey, if you know what you got, you know what you got.
yeah, that's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You made a good point too, man. It's when you're out there, especially in them big, wide open cutovers and stuff like that. You see a white tail flipping back and forth, man. Something about them white tails, they just stick out like a sore thumb out in the middle of them big open areas like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were at the Georgia State, and down there, and they said they had a hunting cow cutter, and them boys told them, they said, them Georgia boys said, yeah, we gonna get on it, and them boys, they told them they were getting it up. They told
Mm-hmm.
them, said, look now, Opie's on it. They said they didn't care, they had some good hunting dogs.
Yeah.
They come to me and gave me $300 first day. Second day they said, you gonna get back on it? They said, yeah. The second day they come and brought me $315. I think them boys figured it out pretty quick.
I was gonna say, I bet they didn't play that game on the third day, did they?
Yeah, we were at Georgia State another year, and they had two trailing dogs, and both of them were ours. I said, "Oh Lord, I know they're gonna ride us on that."
I was gonna say
Yeah,
they ain't gonna let you come back.
yeah,
No.
that year I think 8 of the top 10 were from Virginia. There's a picture they had, and it was 8 of the top 10 were from Virginia that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
The
yeah, it was fun. We all, the whole camaraderie and getting together with your friends.
Yep.
We were down there with David Wayne, Richie Wallace, everybody. We were down there. Good friend of mine, he's from Georgia, Dwayne Clark.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
get to see everybody. You
Yep.
meet a lot of friends in fox hunting.
Right.
I've got friends all over. Some of them passed away. Old Charlie Boyd, he was
Mm-hmm.
from Tennessee, but he was just a judge and all. But I judged with him, but he took a liking to me and Jimmy right from the get go.
Right.
But you meet a lot of friends on Reed Roundtree, the master from Illinois, just different ones, all around. It's just you meet a lot of good friends. You
Yep.
meet from Missouri, every which way. It's
Yep.
you meet somebody, and it's a lot of good folks in fox hunting.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I've always heard a lot of fox hunters say is that if they break down in any state from here to Florida, you can pretty much say that there's a fox hunter within 30, 45 minutes of you that'll come and stop what they're doing and come help you.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yep. We're going to take a quick second and pause this episode and talk about our partners over at Elite Nutrition. Our hounds, they're athletes, guys. They give us their all each and every time that they're casted. Elite Nutrition offers an all-natural products to give your dogs the natural benefits they deserve. From the canine remove and all-natural wormer to the Electro Boost paste for an electrolyte replenishment, body fluid balance, and blood flow improvement. They also have products like Active Dog Powder for recovery and joint muscle support, Essential Dog Powder for daily vitamins and minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, and enzymes, and then the canine lactate powder for nursing dogs to help with milk supply. There are tons of other products for y'all to check out at CajunLights.com. Then click on the Elite Nutrition section to explore. When you go check out only at CajunLights.com, Use the code HTElite10 to receive 10% off your Elite Nutrition products. Again, that's HTELITE, the number 10, to receive 10% off Elite Nutrition products only via CajunLights.com. I've been using their products over the past couple months, and I could not be happier with the results. See for yourself today, and we want to thank Elite Nutrition for taking a step forward into this field trial sport. Now, let's get back to the episode, guys. So, like I said, you've had a pretty busy start to the year, and one of the things that, I hope I can ever have something like this happen to me down the road. You had a dog that was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we mentioned her earlier, but Opie's Kitty was inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah, she was bred. Kitty was bred to Champion Opie's Gigolo.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time we bred her to Champion Opie's Hammer. Then she was bred to Champion Opie's Rock On.
Okay.
And those three crosses out of our stud dogs, she won the Dam of the Year in 2016. She placed in the top 10, I don't know how many times, and then the top 20.
Yeah.
But then she went on to be in the Hound, be in the Hall of Fame. But her last litter wasn't a litter. We bred her to Calvary.
Okay.
And she had one puppy, and that puppy was Ring. We got him now. Field and Dual Champion Opie's Ring. That was her last puppy that was living. We actually, me and Brandon Wisnett, bred her the last time she was bred to Jimmy B and Kitty, and they were the number one sire, number one dam that year.
Wow.
But the puppy died. It was, she had it, and it was already it had passed.
Man, wouldn't that have been something?
I said that was something, but it was one big puppy. And I carried her to the vet 3 times, and he said she was going to have it, but she was late when she had it, but the puppy had passed.
I got you.
And all that. But those dogs made her, into where, she, whatever we had bred her to, but we just decided to breed at our house because all these dogs were good dogs, so we bred them to, our stud dogs.
Yeah.
And I don't think, most of the time you get the dog that wins the Dam of the Year, and you only bred her at your house, which is your stud dogs that you championed. That was an amazing feat.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. That's incredible. I mean, I haven't been into it long enough to even start thinking about getting my own breedings together, but just to even think about that it's all your stuff. That stuff that you've built, that you've worked hard for and produced and done in house, like you said. I mean, that's on top and bottom. Like that's an amazing feat.
She was an outstanding field trial dog, but I thought probably the unluckiest dog we ever owned.
No
she
kidding.
Placed in the teens of times, HGA. She HGA'd in the teens of times, and I ran her. Me and Jim and all, we curled up to American Invitational. It was at Hollywood.
Yeah.
We went to Hollywood. She was second to the Crown Royal. I think it was Crown Royal or Crown. I think it may have been just Crown.
Yeah.
East Coast Crown. That dog was, I think, if I ain't mistaken, bench Field and Dual.
Yeah.
He beat her. So I told Jimmy, I said, she come in second, and she's been second and third and all this. I told Jimmy, I said, we're going to carry her home, and we're not going to run her anymore. We're going to raise puppies and see what she does.
Gotcha.
And Jimmy would see me fixing my cooler. This was in, December. Jimmy see me fixing my cooler like in January, February. And he told me, he said, well, why are you still running Kitty if you're not going to never run her no more? How come you running with the field trial dogs?
Yeah.
And I winked at him, and he said, you going to run at the East Coast Classic? I said, yep, don't tell nobody. She went to East Coast Classic, leading it going out the last day, won it. She was like third in hunting, first in speed, first endurance, won the hunt, and she was 5 years old.
No kidding.
And that's what, I went to, then we went to breeding her. She finally got a champion. The last hunt I run her in, she finally got a championship.
Wow.
So
what a way to go out.
What a way to go out, because she was a real dog. A lot of the guys that field trial with us and doing those times in that era, they'll tell you she would you get her name called, get her name called, get her
Mm-hmm.
name called, and then they said when we bred her, then they said we still had to hear her name.
So they couldn't
Yeah,
escape old Kitty.
Kitty was she's coming, she's still getting her name called, but she was a pleasure. She was a pleasure to own and and to run. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Now, do you remember how many years she was in the top 10 and
I
combined of
I'm gonna
the
say
Dam of the Year?
I'm gonna say she's probably in the top 10, maybe 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
something like that. And then she was in the top 20 maybe 3 years or 2 3 years, because
Gotcha.
you had all these dogs that went out, and like in 2019, um, Spot Rock was third in the Hound of the Year, and Ring was 10th. So both of them were off of her,
Right.
that was in there, and then so it spread it out, a long ways in
Yeah.
between her puppies, even though she only had 3 litters and one puppy.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Well,
spread it out.
one thing I've always said and kind of had I thought to myself was I think it's everybody talks about the Sire of the Year and how big that is. I think it's probably harder to be Dam of the Year, in my
Yeah.
opinion. You know what I mean? It's to be Dam of the Year. That means you got to have at least a couple dogs off of that jip that are hitting and hitting right
Oh yeah.
to be able to win that kind of honor.
Oh yeah. That's right. Well, the when we actually was trying to win it, we've
Mm-hmm.
been close, but never that we were at the American Invitational, and again it was back up at Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
and when they called it, we were real close with Brandon. Brandon wasn't ahead of Jip,
Mm-hmm.
and his Jip was real close, but not catching us, but she was real close,
Right.
you know. And sure enough, he placed the dog off of that Jip. I can't remember the name of that Jip, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we placed 2-time field champion Opie's Duchess,
Okay.
um, and she was second in the Dam of the Year one year, but Duchess was second in hunting. And when I knew we'd place her probably ninth, so
Yeah.
I was tickled to death, and I was going back, and everybody was congratulating me not on her being second in hunting and all in placing there, but for Kitty.
Yeah.
But when they turned around and called first place hunting was Opie Spot Rock, I knew we were gonna be both sixth and ninth. It won't no way, I mean,
Yeah.
it was really be hard for anybody to catch her.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she ended up winning it. And I was
That's
tickled to
awesome.
death that she ended up winning it.
That's incredible. I guess that was that one of the last years of the Invitational being up there at
Yeah,
Hollywood.
I want to say that probably was the last year it was up there. I'm not
Yeah.
sure now. Don't hold that to me, but
Yeah.
I want to say maybe it was
Right.
one of those years, because I know, yeah, that probably the last year they headed up
I
there.
thought it probably was if my
Yeah.
timeline of my memory was suiting
Oh
right.
yeah.
That should have been about the last
Yeah.
one they had up
Yeah,
there.
that's probably the last one they head up there.
Yep. And I
Yeah,
think
that
that was the
probably was the
last
last
3
one.
day they had. I don't
Mm.
think there was no more three
Yeah, I
days
know they've
after that.
had some. I know they've had something up there, but
They've had some
um,
derbies. They've had a lot of derby hunts, but I don't know that they've had
yeah, I'm not.
another
I'm
three
not
day.
real sure. I know I judged the bench show
Yep.
and went up there, but I can't remember what hunt it was. I
I
swear I
don't.
can't.
I don't either.
I judged the bench show for them.
I know what bench show you're talking about too. Cause
2000.
yep,
I can't remember though. Don't
it
don't hold
should
it
have
to me.
been about 2019.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been.
Because if I maybe a year later, maybe 2020 something like that. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think and tell me if I'm wrong here. I think that was when Little Mule won the bench show with what was that dog's name? Daggone it, that Jip, if I'm not mistaken. And then MJ Hamlet finished second with his Nightmare dog. Am I
Yeah,
thinking about
it
the
could
right
have
bench
been.
show?
Yeah, it could have been. I remember that bench show, but I can't. I've done a few, and I can't remember them all
Or maybe
by
that
memory.
maybe I think MJ finished second in that one. Maybe it was Brandon. Maybe it was B&B. Maybe B&B was the one that won
I
it. I
want to
can't
say
remember.
that year I was talking about, I thought Brandon won it.
I think it
Yeah.
is right. I think Brandon did win it. I'm thinking about
But
a
I
different
can't
hunt.
remember
Yep.
what dog it was. I don't
Yeah, I
remember. I
don't
know
know
it was
what
a good
dog it
looking
was.
Jip though. I know that.
Yeah.
See, I want to say that dog went on to win the Hound of the Year or something that year. I'm not sure, but
Right.
that was a good looking dog. I mean, she was well built Jip.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I think MJ still has a picture of that one when he
Okay.
finished second. With that nightmare dog of his.
Okay.
But that's that talking about Kitty. Again, I want to extend my congratulations to you as
Yeah,
well on that.
I
That's
appreciate it. That was a high honor. Actually rode down there with Bruce and his family,
okay.
and we went down. I met him at his house, and we went down, and we actually won that for her. She won it, and he gave us a plaque and everything. And then Bruce had gotten he'd gotten one of the best crosses, the Okie Christie cross.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. I forgot about
yeah.
that.
So he had went down there for that, too, and won that, and that was definitely a cross to be contended with. I can tell
Yeah.
you that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been poking at him a little bit here lately too, trying to get him to come on the podcast and talk.
yeah.
See
Well,
if I
well,
can't
well.
get him to
Maybe if he
break.
sees I did it, maybe he'll do
There
it.
you go.
Yeah,
The Hounds Tales podcast is happy to announce our newest partnership with Low 10 Outfitters. If your kennel is looking for new apparel to rock to the next field trial, look no further than Low 10 Outfitters. They offer shirts, hats, hoodies, coats, and other accessories with custom logos for your kennel or your hound to go on. With top quality merchandise and long lasting quality, you can't go wrong with Low 10 Outfitters. And very soon we will be offering Houndstail Podcast apparel on their website at low10outfitters.com. So be on the lookout for that coming up here soon. Thank you, Low 10 Outfitters, for teaming up with the Houndstails Podcast. And don't forget, guys, low10outfitters.com to get your apparel for your kennels. Now, let's get you back to your episode.
yeah,
Well, let's move into some of these. We've been dropping some names, man, and like you said, we talked about it before, and you tell me the numbers again. But I want to talk about some of these previous hounds. Some of the hounds of the past that you've had. And if I heard you right and I got it wrote down fast enough, 20 field champions.
yeah. It was funny. It was championships. Q-Tip was a 3-time champion, and
Mm-hmm.
Spot Rock was a 2-time field champion,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see, Spot Rock. Then it was Duchess was a 2-time field champion,
Okay.
and but my mind's slipping me now. I can't. Fat Bull was a 2-time field dual bench
Yep.
champion,
Okay.
and then Gigolo, he was like a 3-time bench and a field and dual champion, but some of the other ones were, they were bench champions. Like Latina she was a Virginia
Mm-hmm.
Classic bench, and then the Georgia State field champion.
Okay. I
And
gotcha.
but anyway, yeah, it goes way back,
Right.
on all the dogs. But like Pork Chop, he was a bench and field and dual champion, and
Okay.
he was off of Gigolo and Thompson Sweetie Bird.
Right.
But then, like Rock On, he was a bench champion and a field champion. And it's just you keep naming them, but it comes to me, all the dogs,
Yeah.
the different ones, that we've had over the years, and they were really really good dogs.
And that Rock On was a good producer too, wasn't he? He had
Oh yeah,
didn't he have
yeah.
a really nice litter with the Little Rock and Tiny Rock and that
Oh
the
yeah,
Spot Rock.
yeah.
That was all off of him, correct?
Yes, yeah. That Tiny Rock, Spot Rock, Mighty Rock, all of them were off of him.
I got you.
Yeah, they were off of him, and then some more people had dogs too. Josh Mole, different ones had some different some of the litter mates.
Right.
And all of them,
Yeah.
and done good. But one thing skipped me, but all these dogs and all the
Mm-hmm.
success that we've had, I praise God for this. He put these dogs in our hand, and if it hadn't been for the good Lord, we wouldn't have had all these crosses and made the right crosses, and he put these dogs in our hands for us to excel.
Yes, sir.
Because if he hadn't have done it, we wouldn't be nowhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I just want to throw that in there.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I
sir.
love that. That's the truth too. The good Lord was definitely knew what He was doing, putting it in the right hands, putting it in the right places, and the right timing on everything.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's kind of like some of them I told them. You could have gave Secretariat to the wrong person that had him pulling a play on a strawberry patch.
that's right.
You got to put them in the right hands. The dog's got to go in the
Yep.
right hands, and the horses got to go in the right hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
yeah.
We did mention too. We mentioned Rock On being a good producer too. You've had some
Oh
other
yeah.
good
If we
producers.
had Rock on right now,
Yeah.
and he was in good health,
Right.
I'd have to be turning people down on his breeding because
Right.
he was. I mean, he was some. That joker could run some. We
Yep.
went to the Piedmont, and over at there, it was at Creedmoor,
Mm-hmm.
and Boyd's Brady and all these big boys. I mean, legends
Right.
were there with all these fast foxhounds, and we went over there and Christy. She was a Mahern River dual champion, which was his sister. She
Okay.
was sixth and he was second, but he won the speed and drive.
Gotcha.
He had hunting and all, but Voyage's dog beat him out on the HGA. But
Right.
he won the speed and drive, and I was tickled to death that we could carry one of our dogs over there and win the speed like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
he was. I mean, he was good looking hound, but he could run. I mean, he could run something.
And what was he off of?
Um, his um Rock On
Yep.
he was off a North Georgia dual champion Cliven's Hard Rock and champion Opie's Tina.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that
Gotcha.
was his Doretta. She was she was our first field champion, and we were tickled to death to get win a hunt with her. But she placed a bunch of times for us too. She was really a great hound, and just we were just lucky to even get her.
Yeah.
I think it goes to where Bruce had the dog. Christy couldn't have the puppies, and so they ended up. They said, "Look, we'll Jennifer and Todd. They were Todd was in the kennel was then. He said, "Well, will y'all do the C-section and split the puppies?"
Right.
And Jennifer said, "Yeah." And so he said told him says one condition. And so if I'm hearing this straight,
Yeah.
I remember right, said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "I got to do it. We got to go and get them because she needs to be operated on now."
Yeah.
He said, "We get to raise the puppies, then we get the half. I have first, you get the rest of them." Well, it was one thing. It was one female puppy.
Ah. Ah.
And that's where Tina came from. So
Uh-huh.
that was really good. I can tell you that. But Bruce was really he was a genius at what to breed and
Yeah.
and everything because he made that cross.
Gotcha.
And we were just lucky enough to get Tina out the cross
Right. Right.
and
Yep.
everything.
No, that's yeah. Yeah, and there's something about that too, man. Once you get that formula figured out, it seems like you can roll with it and make it work for you.
Oh yeah, just like we went down and we bred Tina to Cliven's Blaze, Champion Cliven's Blaze.
Okay.
And we went down there and bred, and that's where we got dual champion. He was a bench and dual champion. I think he was two-time bench and dual champion, North Carolina Open dual champion Zorro. Then
Okay.
we had Ned. He was the North Carolina Open bench champion. Then we had Lemon. Then we had the Latina dog
Yeah.
champion, Opie's Latina.
Yeah.
All them four were litter mates.
Okay.
And so we bred her the second time to Cliven's Hank Jr. And that dog was off of Petty's Hank.
Okay.
And Bruce had bought him at a North Georgia field trial. So we bred her to him, and we got some good dogs over that cross. Then we went, one of them was Opie's Nora. And we won the Derby over at Creedmoor, the Tar River, with her, and she placed a bunch for us. But them dogs were doing so good, that, those Blaze Tinas that we went back and bred again.
Right.
So it kind of shoots. That's where Champion Opie's Hammer came from.
Okay.
So you heard people say, "Hey, second crosses don't work."
Yeah.
Um,
You hear that a lot.
you heard, but I have to argue with that. That cross was good. We've had other crosses that were good.
Yeah.
And if you ever heard of Atkins Penny and Atkins
Oh yeah.
Lucy,
Oh yeah.
you ever heard of them?
Oh yeah. Of course.
I'm just
Of
joking. They
course.
are
Yep.
legends. That were
Of
second
course.
crosses.
Second
They were second
crosses.
crosses. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
don't I don't believe in all
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Yep. No,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Trust me. I've been my heartbreaker Jip. I've been thinking about making that chrome cross again. Since it worked out the first time. See
Oh
if I
yeah,
can't
that's
get some
right.
more. Make some more puppies off of that
Oh
one.
yeah,
But
exactly right. Yeah. I ain't
it's
gonna
always
say every time it works, but it works sometimes.
it might be worth a shot, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Daggone right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we're going to put a stop to this one right here. Yes, I know we're splitting the episode in half, but y'all bear with me. We get a little backed up on recordings, and I needed to split this one up to save a little bit. So y'all forgive me for splitting this one up, but we're going to stop this one right here. We will finish up the rest of this episode next week. But for right now, we're going to roll into the Spotlight presented by Cajun Lights. All right, here we go. It's now time for the Spotlight, presented by Cajun Lights. This is where each week we will recognize winners and other accomplishments across the field trial world. Now let's shine a light on these guys and these dogs, and let's get to this week's winners. All right, we are going to get into the Spotlight, presented by Cajun Lights. Y'all forgive me, I didn't have a lot of time to actually write these things down, so what we're going to do is I'm going to be reading them off my phone as we go. Didn't see but 2 hunts this weekend. We got two pretty good hunts. I know, of course, we'll talk about the All-American second. We'll save the biggest one for last. But we're going to start off with the Outlaw Shootout. Was held this past weekend. Let's start with the best mouth. That dog was Brown Ear Hooter D. That dog was out of Stormin Hooter D. And Mountaintop Little Lexus from Hooter Ridge Kennels. Your classy hound, was Mountaintop Zip. And that dog was out of King's Two-Stroke and Mountaintop Half July from Mountaintop Kennels and Ryan Hall. And then your combination winner was Tanner's Yellowhead out of B&B Superstar and B&B's Timex from Rusty Tanner. Then the winner of the hunt was Gregory's Nelly, and that dog's out of J&K's 8-Ball and 747 Black Cherry from P-Town Mafia. So congratulations to everybody at this hunt. And then, of course, we got to move into the All-American. And I'll tell you what, you heard it in the episode. We talked about it a little bit. I talked to several people that were down there, and everybody claimed and talked about how this was one of the best hunts that they have ever been to. So hats off to the All-American. Hats off to everybody that put it on. Congratulations to everybody that made it through to the last day, and even more congratulations to everybody that I'm about to call out. I'm actually going to go through the top 10 on at least, and I may not go all the way. Let's do the top 10. I mean, this is a big enough hunt. I think it's worth it. So we're going to start off with the best mouth, and that dog was Richardson's Sheriff. And that dog's out of B&B's Chrome and B&B's Kate from Alan Richardson. Your classiest hound, and also, if I'm not mistaken, was your bench champion, is champion Hollow Oaks Slick from champion Clark's Moneymaker and Clark Sugar from Hollow Oak Kennels. And then we will get into the duel in combination in just a few minutes. 10th place HGA was, Fivus Psycho. That dog's out of Crisco's Wild Boy and Green Swamp Willow. The 9th place HGA was Boyd's Twister out of B&B's Tornado and Boyd's 2-Spot. 8th place HGA was Kurt's Big Sexy out of Turd Hill Bubba Q and HBK's 4 Loco. 7th place was my buddy Bobby Parker and that dog's name is Bobby's Nephew out of Bobby's Chase and Bobby's Tiny Dancer. Sixth place was Champion Haas's Shoe Fly out of Champion Haas's King Ramsey B and Dockwood's Fly Timmy. The fifth place HGA was Turd Hill Alley out of Turd Hill CEO and Turd Hill Cindy. Fourth place was also your classiest Hound, when that was the Champion Hollow Oak Slick out of Champion Clark's Moneymaker and Clark's Sugar. Third was High C Swifty out of B&B Superman and B&B's Lucky. Your combination and dual champion for the hunt, and only 10 points out from being a field champion as well for the All-American, was Halltree's Annie Oakley. That dog was out of Champion Blanton's Cowboy and Broke Right Brown Sugar. And you're All-American. And I called him and told him, I said, there's something about y'all coming on these daggone podcasts, so y'all watch out for Opie here coming up. I'm telling y'all, he's gonna lock it in. Champion Chapman's Boaz. Champion Chapman's Boaz out of Virginia Breeze's Virginia Power and Sandspur's Monkey, Mr. Dylan and Matt Chapman. Congratulations, guys, on making your champions down there. What a hunt. Man, I regret not going to this one. I probably would have got my stuff drug around and been packing my dogs up by the end of the day. But you know what? It would have been a fun one to go to. So, but that's all I got for this one, guys. I hope everybody had a good time and enjoyed this episode. And don't have much for the. We didn't really have anything for the around the howl this week, so we're going to skip that section this week. But I do appreciate everybody listening. We're going to finish this episode up next week with part 2. And it was man, I hope y'all have enjoyed it so far. This one was a blessing to do. I was so happy to get this one done and make this one happen. So part 2, we're going to finish the episode up next week. And thank y'all so much for listening, guys. And like always, happy hunting.